Hello and welcome back to DK's Lab. Today we're going to build a PiKVM, which is an open source IPKVM on a Raspberry Pi 4. And the main reason we are doing this is because we are going to do a home lab setup on desktops as our servers. And the desktops don't have a way to remotely access or manage them. Like the enterprise servers, for example, Supermicro, they use IPMI. For the Dells, they use IDRAC. So for us, we're going to use a PiKVM, and our setup will be a PiKVM installed on a Pi 4, and we'll be using a memory card or SD card as our storage for the operating system. So we are going to flash it with the PiKVM OS, and to carry our signal from our desktop to the Raspberry Pi, we are going to use a converter, HDMI to USB. The USB part, which is the output, will connect to our Raspberry Pi, and the input part will connect to our desktop. And from this part, you can do the connection based on your needs. For example, our desktops don't have HDMI connectors, so we are going to use a VGA to HDMI converter. So if you have a HDMI port, then HDMI to HDMI cable, that works for you. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and flash our SD card with the PiKVM OS. So to do this, you need to go to the PiKVM handbook page, which is has the documentation on how to build a PiKVM. And part we need to go is on your left. Under getting started, you need to go to flashing OS, and we are going to go to DIY PiKVM version 2 platform. For our instance, we're going to use Raspberry Pi 4, and we're using HDMI to USB dongle, that one I showed you back on the start of the video. So if you're going to use HDMI CSI bridge, then this is the image to download. So we're going ahead to download HDMI USB dongle image. So as that image is downloading, we need to scroll down and go to the section for the flashing the image. So if you're using Linux, these two commands should serve you. But if you prefer to use graphics, then come down here and download the Raspberry Pi image. This one works for Linux, macOS, and Windows. So if you click on the Raspberry Pi imager, it should take you to the GitHub page here. And as of this recording, the imager version is 1.90. So we're also going to download this imager, and that was also a quick one. Then we are going to install the imager first, so that it can enable us to flash our SD with the PiKVM. So the installation should take a few seconds to complete. To finish, and it should launch the imager. So then we need to go and choose the device. We're using Raspberry Pi. So if you're using R4, if you're using Pi 0, which also the installation instructions are on the PiKVM handbook, then you select our, for us is Pi 4. Then we're going to choose the OS. Make sure you select use custom as your, and then select your image. Then we're going to choose the storage. This should be our SD card to flash the OS to. So make sure the path is correct. For example, my path is mounted on D, and that should be it. Then click on next. For this installation, don't do any customization. So just say no, yes, and that should write our PiKVM OS to our SD card. The reason to not do any customization on the installation instructions, which are on the same page we were on, down here it warns us, telling us to review the customization options, and the reason is the customization are designed for Raspberry Pi OS and not for the PiKVM OS, so they will not work. So the only thing to do is don't customize anything on that page, but after installation you can do the customization. So let's wait for Raspberry Pi to finish installation. Our flashing of the OS is done, so we are going to remove the SD card and put it back to our Raspberry Pi, then connect it to our desktop and see if we are going to be able to access our desktop. So let me get the memory card out, plug it in on the Raspberry Pi. So I had troubles accessing my PiKVM, but the problem was I had not allowed this network to be accessed on my router, so I had to do some firewall rules in there, but now I'm able to access the page, and default login should be on getting started first steps. And if you go to accessing PiKVM via web interface, the username and the password should be admin. So if we go back here and do admin, just paste that one in there, login. Let's never save this one. So this is our PiKVM, so we are able to access PiKVM. So the next steps that you need to take to secure your PiKVM, please go change the password and the username. Don't use the default username and password. And this documentation has everything you need to change and configure the new password and username. And that section to be specifically to point out on this documentation under first steps, where we saw the password, it's marked in red, change the password. And here are the steps where you're going to SSH, then change modes to write, change the password, change the username if you want, and you should be secure from there going onwards. So yeah, we're going to plug this to our first desktop and start installation. Our first installation is going to be pfSense to be our router for our labs network. And I think this video has already been long enough, so we are going to call it a day from here, then do the other video as a separate video on how to install pfSense. So thank you so much for watching. If this content is helpful to you, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share so that we can share this knowledge to anybody who's looking for it. So thank you so much. See you in the next one. Bye bye.